They told me he was my soulmate, my rock, my safe place. But the truth was buried under a pile of perfect lies. Lies I couldn't see, until that one moment shattered everything. I met Tyler when I was 24, working late shifts at a family-owned diner in a small Florida town. He walked in wearing a suit that looked too expensive for our greasy booths and cheap coffee. I thought maybe he was lost, but he smiled like he belonged anywhere he wanted to be. "I'll take whatever you recommend," he said, locking eyes with me like he'd known me for years. I recommended the chicken pot pie. He laughed and said he trusted me. That night, Tyler sat at the counter for 2 hours, talking about books, music, and how he just moved into town to start a consulting firm. He didn't brag, but it was clear he had money. The kind I'd never known. The kind that didn't clip coupons or buy secondhand shoes. For the first time in months, I went home smiling. He came back the next day. And the day after that. He learned my schedule. He'd leave notes on napkins. Funny sketches, short poems, or just, "You make this place worth walking into." 6 weeks later, we were dating. 3 months in, I was falling hard. He never pushed, never crossed boundaries. He opened doors, listened when I vented about my mom's hospital bills, even brought groceries when I told him I couldn't make rent and eat in the same week. "I just want to help," he'd say. I felt seen, loved, safe. That's what made the next part hurt more than anything. It started small. Tyler would cancel plans last minute. First, he had work calls, late-night emergencies, client meltdowns. I understood he was building a company, but then there were phone calls he wouldn't take in front of me. Texts he swiped away the second I glanced over. A second phone I found in his coat pocket once. When I asked, he smiled and kissed my forehead. "Business stuff. Boring. You don't need to worry." But I did. Because one night I heard a name in his sleep. "Jessica." I froze. "My name is Kayla." He mumbled it again, softer. The next morning I asked, "Who's Jessica?" He blinked like he was waking from a dream. "A client. We had a deal fall through last week. Stress dreams, I guess." His answer was too smooth. Too fast. But I swallowed it. I wanted to believe him. My best friend Marnie didn't. "You're not crazy," she said one night while we sat on her balcony. "He's hiding something." Marnie had never trusted Tyler's charm. She said it felt fake, too polished. "He's either a professional liar, or he's got backup girlfriends in 3 cities, she'd joke. I laughed back then. Now I wasn't so sure. But love does that to you. It makes you blind in the places where you should be staring. Still, something inside me was waking up. I started checking things. His LinkedIn private. His business address? P.O. Box. The firm had no online presence. No website, no press, nothing. When I asked him again, Tyler's expression changed. Just for a second. Like a mask slipping. Then he smiled again. "Babe, you Googled me." I blushed. "I just wanted to know more." He leaned in. "What matters is what I tell you, not what's online." I nodded, but I felt sick. One night I followed him. He told me he was going to a client dinner. I knew the hotel. I waited across the street in my car for 3 hours. When he finally came out, he wasn't alone. The woman with him wasn't just pretty. She was glowing. Tall, perfect skin, designer heels I'd only seen on TV. They laughed like they belonged to each other. Then they kissed. My stomach dropped. He had his hand on her lower back. The same way he touched me when he wanted me to feel like the only girl in the world. I wanted to scream, cry, break something. Instead, I drove home and sat in the dark for hours. The next morning, I pretended like nothing happened. I needed time. A plan. Proof. I told Marnie everything. She wasn't surprised. "Girl, we're gonna find out who this man really is." Over the next 2 weeks, we became detectives. Marnie had a cousin in IT. He ran some checks. And what he found chilled me to the bone. Tyler didn't exist. No real last name. No legal business. The name he gave me wasn't attached to any tax filings, real estate, or public records. The car he drove was registered to a shell company in Nevada. "He's a ghost," Marnie whispered. No, he was worse. He was a lie wrapped in charm. I started looking back at everything with new eyes. The business trips, where he didn't answer for hours. The expensive gifts, always without receipts. The woman at the hotel, was she the only one? Or just the one I caught? One afternoon, Tyler showed up at my place with flowers. Tulips, my favorite. He kissed me like nothing was wrong. Like I wasn't breaking inside. I want to take you somewhere, he said. Surprise trip. I forced a smile. Where? Miami. Just us. No distractions. I nodded. I needed to get him away. Alone. Somewhere I could confront him. Maybe even expose him. I packed my bags that night and pretended everything was fine. But I also tucked a small voice recorder into my purse. And I made sure Marnie had my location the entire time. Miami was hot and blindingly fake. We stayed at a luxury hotel. I knew Tyler couldn't afford unless he was scamming someone. I watched him lie to the concierge, to the valet, to me. But I smiled. I laughed. Played my part. Until the third night. We were having dinner on the rooftop. The city below looked golden. I took a deep breath and said, "Tell me the truth." He blinked. About what? I stared at him. Jessica. Your fake business. The second phone. The lies. There was a long silence. Then he laughed. Cold and slow. You're smarter than I thought. That was the moment. The one where I saw everything. His charm fell away like broken glass. And I saw who he really was. A predator. A liar. A thief. And I realized something else. He wasn't finished with me yet. Tyler's eyes darkened as he leaned back in his chair, the wind from the rooftop restaurant fluttering through his expensive button-down shirt. His smile no longer reached his eyes. So you figured it out. My fingers tightened around the stem of my wine glass. Why? He tilted his head. Why what? Why lie to me? Why build this whole fantasy? What was I to you? Some project. A game. Tyler didn't answer right away. Instead, he poured himself another glass of wine, slowly and deliberately. His calmness scared me more than if he'd yelled. At first, he said, you were a distraction. Something to keep my nights warm, my days entertaining. You were sweet, a little sad and easy to impress. But then, you started asking questions. That made you inconvenient. I swallowed the lump in my throat, rage and heartbreak twisting together inside me. You planned all of this. From the beginning. He shrugged. You made it easy. You opened up so quickly. You told me everything I needed to know within the first week. Your fears, your finances, your mom's health problems. Do you know how valuable that kind of vulnerability is to a man like me? I wanted to scream. Instead I said, what do you even do, Tyler? Who are you? The name's not Tyler, he said flatly. And what I do? Let's just say I help people reallocate their resources. He took a sip of his wine, then leaned in. And I'm very good at it. My hands were shaking under the table, but my face remained frozen. I reached into my purse and flicked the voice recorder on. So this was just a scam? All of it? I asked, voice tight. He gave a half smile. I wouldn't say all of it. You were fun, Kayla. Still are. But I'm not the guy who settles down. I'm the guy who wins. My stomach turned. He leaned back again, casually scanning the restaurant. You won't go to the police. Why not? Because you have no proof and I haven't technically stolen anything from you. Yet. And if you try to ruin my name, well, you don't even know my real name. You'll just look like a bitter ex. He was right. Legally, he hadn't touched my bank account. But I knew without a doubt he had a bigger plan. One that ended with me broken, bankrupt, or worse. I needed to act. That night I didn't sleep. I lay awake in our hotel suite, listening to him breathe peacefully beside me. My mind raced through every detail, every lie, every moment he manipulated me. I quietly texted Marnie. He confessed. Got it recorded. I need you to dig. Real name. Real life. Fast. She replied instantly. Already on it. Be safe. The next morning I pretended everything was fine. Tyler suggested we rent a yacht for the day. I smiled and said it sounded amazing. Meanwhile, Marnie was texting updates like a live crime podcast. Found another name. Mason Kellerman. 2 fraud charges dismissed. Changed his name 4 times. He's a professional scam artist. Also Jessica. She's married. Husband owns an investment firm. Mason's probably going after him through her. I felt sick. Not only was I being used, I was likely one of many. A tool in a long con. We boarded the yacht around noon. Tyler, or Mason, whatever his real name was in high spirits. He took pictures, drank champagne, even tried to get me to pose with him for a couple's pic. I smiled. I played along. But in my bag, the recorder was still rolling. Back in town, I met with Marnie at a coffee shop while he took a shower at my place. She had a folder in her hands. "You're not going to believe this," she said. Inside the folder were documents, photos, a list of aliases. Mason Kellerman, Liam Cross, Brandon Ellison. 3 names, 1 face. Dozens of women. At least 4 lawsuits. "He dates women who are vulnerable," Marnie said. "Sick parents. Dead-end jobs. Big hearts. Then he worms into their lives, pretends to care, gathers personal info and bleeds them dry. If not with money, then access to their networks." I flipped the page and froze. It was a photo of him with Jessica. But not just as a date. He was at her wedding, standing beside the groom. "He's playing both sides," I whispered. "He always does," Marnie said. I couldn't just walk away. Not this time. Not when I had him on tape. I went to the police. The first officer barely looked at me. "Unless he's stolen money or threatened you, there's not much we can do." He confessed. On tape. The officer blinked, finally interested. "Bring it in." I handed over the recorder and explained everything. They agreed to look into it but warned me it could take time. Too much time. I had to stop him before he hurt someone else. Especially Jessica's husband. So I called her. I found her number on a business listing for her yoga studio. She answered on the 3rd ring. "Hi, Jessica. You don't know me, but I need to talk to you about Mason. Or Tyler. Or Liam. Whatever he's calling himself with you." There was silence. Then, "Who is this?" "Someone he used. Just like he's using you. And I have proof." She hung up. But 2 hours later, she showed up at the coffee shop where I worked. She looked flawless. Designer bag, perfect makeup. But her eyes, they were tired. Suspicious. I handed her a copy of the recording. And the folder. She listened in silence. Her face paled with every word. When it ended, she whispered. "He said I was the only one. That his exes were crazy. That I was different. That's what he tells all of us," I said. Jessica pulled out her phone. "You want revenge? So do I. Let's ruin him." What followed was a plan so precise, so painful, I almost felt bad for him. Almost. Jessica invited him to a charity gala hosted by her husband's firm. She told Mason they were considering hiring a new financial consultant and that he should come network. He took the bait. I went as Jessica's assistant. No one noticed me. Until it was time. Jessica's husband took the stage to introduce a brilliant mind in finance, who would be joining their team. He said Mason's fake name. The crowd clapped. Mason walked up to the stage, smug and confident. Then the projector lit up. It showed his real name. All of them. Mugshots. Court documents. Voice clips from the recording. Gasps filled the room. People turned to whisper. Jessica stepped onto the stage. "This man isn't a consultant. He's a con artist. He targeted me. My assistant. Dozens of women. This is who you almost hired." Security stepped in before Mason could bolt. And I saw it. The moment it all changed. His face twisted in shock. Not rage. Not even denial. Just shock. Because for once he was the one being played. The police opened a formal investigation. Jessica pressed charges. So did another woman who came forward after seeing the news. As for me, I finally breathed again. But it wasn't over yet. Because Mason had one more trick up his sleeve and it would push me to a place I never thought I'd go. The news spread faster than I ever imagined. By morning, Mason Kellerman's face was splashed across every major local news outlet. "Fraudster exposed at charity gala," one headline screamed. "Serial con artist unmasked by victims," another said. Social media turned brutal. Former flames came forward. Anonymous accounts tagged news stations with receipts, and public shame hit him harder than any jail sentence ever could. But somehow none of it stopped him. because 2 days later he vanished. No arrest. No charges filed yet. He disappeared like a shadow, leaving behind scorched reputations, broken hearts, and a furious police department trying to track him. Jessica was livid. "He must have had an escape plan," she said, pacing across my living room. "Cash stashed. Fake passport. We embarrassed him, but we didn't stop him." And that terrified me more than anything, because if Mason was good at one thing, it was retaliation. I changed my locks. Stopped posting online. Marnie stayed with me, refusing to let me sleep alone. Still, I jumped at every knock on the door. Every car that slowed down outside. Every unknown number that called my phone. Then the messages started. Just 2 words. "Nice try." First by text. Then slipped under my door. Then emailed from burner accounts. The police logged everything, but they didn't have enough to issue a warrant. No address. No trace. Nothing but fear and threats and one determined predator. Jessica hired a private investigator. The guy was former FBI and didn't mess around. He cross-referenced aliases, tracked known connections, and finally hit something solid. A new identity. Mason was now calling himself Blake Harmon and had moved across the state to Tampa. He was already dating a woman named Cassandra, a wealthy divorcee with 3 rental properties. It was starting again. Jessica and I looked at each other. No more waiting. No more playing defense. We had to finish this. We made contact with Cassandra through her business website. I sent a simple message. "Please, before you trust him with anything, money, your heart, your home, hear our story. It could save you everything." She replied in under 5 minutes. We met in a quiet bookstore cafe on the edge of the city. Cassandra was sharp, elegant, and skeptical. But when she saw the photos, the recordings, the pattern, her hands trembled. "He told me his parents died in a plane crash," she whispered. "That he built his company from nothing. That he wanted to start a nonprofit for at-risk youth." Jessica gave her a look. "He always makes himself sound like a saint. But he's a virus. And he's about to drain your life." Cassandra exhaled slowly. Then she said something I didn't expect. "Then let's destroy him. Properly this time." With Cassandra on the inside, we created a sting. She invited Mason, or Blake as he now went by, to a weekend getaway at her lake house. He thought it was a private romantic retreat. What it really was, a trap. The lake house had hidden cameras in every common area. We installed surveillance with Cassandra's help. The bedroom, kitchen, even the office, ready to capture whatever he said. The plan was to get him comfortable, get him talking, and get him confessing. Jessica and I watched the entire thing live from a cabin nearby, biting our nails as Cassandra played the role of smitten girlfriend. He bragged again. About past women. About how dumb people could be when you smile just right. About money he liberated from past targets. And finally he slipped. He described the gala. "They tried to ruin me. Pathetic, really. I was out before the cops could even cuff me. But I'll bounce back. Always do. Some fools are just slower to see the truth." Jessica leaned forward. "Did we get that?" The PI nodded. "Clear audio. Got him admitting to the scam. It was enough. The footage went to the authorities, the FBI, and every agency we could reach. Within a week, an arrest warrant was issued for Blake Harmon, aka Mason Kellerman, aka Tyler Cross. 2 days later, he was caught trying to cross into Georgia under yet another alias. He didn't resist. Maybe for once he knew he was outplayed. Court took months. Jessica testified. So did Cassandra. I sat through every hearing, even when it made my stomach turn. The DA offered a deal, 7 years in prison, no parole for 4. Mason tried to talk his way out of it, but the judge wasn't having it. "You didn't just lie. You built an empire on deception, and you preyed on the vulnerable. This court finds you guilty." They cuffed him right there. No final smirk. No smug goodbye. Just silence. And it was beautiful. After it was over, life slowly began to heal. Jessica and I became close friends, bonded through survival. Cassandra started a support group for victims of financial abuse. Marnie finally got a full night's sleep without checking the locks 3 times. As for me, I went back to school. I started working toward a degree in criminal psychology. I wanted to understand people like Mason so I could help stop them. But more than anything, I wanted to make sure that women like me, trusting, open, kind, never had to go through this alone. Because I wasn't broken. I was remade. Stronger. Smarter. And no one would ever steal that from me again. If you found this story powerful, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Someone out there might need to hear this.